Hey, it's Mr. Bass, and I'm excited to be with you today and talk a little bit about really what is becoming one of my favorite new lures. 2021 is over. 2022 is here. The water is too frozen and it's too cold to go fishing in my part of the world. And we don't really do ice fishing here because the ice doesn't get thick enough. So I'm just sitting around working on tackle, getting ready for tournaments, that kind of stuff. And I got to thinking, I had a great year 2021 when it comes to fishing. I had a goal to catch 1,000 fish in 2021. I didn't quite hit it. I caught 803 fish in 2021 and had a blast doing it. Spent a lot of time out on the water. And I had some great lures. In fact, when I think about it, probably the number one lure that I caught the most bass on in 2021 was a chatterbait. But that was not surprising to me. I've been throwing a chatterbait for years and years. Um, but what was my most surprising, miraculous, incredible, exciting bait for 2021? I have one. And when I was thinking about making this video, I thought about 2020. I didn't do a video like this in 2020. I should have, because I have a bait that impacted me the same way in 2020 as this bait did in 2021. And that is the dark sleeper. So this is not the lure I'm going to talk about today, but around 2019, I think, is probably the first time I heard about the dark sleeper. And, I was kind of indifferent about it. Yeah. In fact, when I looked at it, some people say, well, it's a goby style bait. Well, we don't have gobies in the Midwest. I mean, that's a Great Lakes thing, so that didn't really interest me. I've got other swim baits. To me, this thing kind of looks a little fat and doesn't look like it would swim that well. And it didn't really impress me a whole lot in 2019. But for some reason, I decided to start throwing it early 2020 and threw it all through 2020, and it blew my mind. This little dark sleeper just is a game changer. It's a fantastic bait, and that's why so many companies are copying it now. Berkeley with Edwin Evers' new bait, I think it's called the E or something. He's probably the latest one to copy this. Everybody's copying the dark sleeper because it's such an amazing bait. By far, this was my most surprising bait of 2020. It was just incredible. I've caught so many fish on this in so many different lakes, so many different bodies of water, it's great. I don't know what's going on with my focus right there, why it doesn't want to stay. Focus on this thing. Fantastic bait. If you've never tried the dark sleeper, go try it. You will not regret it. But I digress. That's not the bait that 2021, I threw it a lot. I caught a lot of fish on it in 2021. But when I talk about what's the most surprising, the most surprising bait for me in 2021 would have to be a new bait. I was thinking, could I have an old bait that turns out to be the most surprising bait for an entire year? Well, I guess it's possible in that, take for example, here's a possibility. I've thrown a trick worm for years. I've thrown the floating trick worm where you throw it weightless over beds. I've fished it on a shaky head. I've fished it Texas rig. I've fished it a ton of different ways on a Carolina rig. The trick worm is a go-to worm that I've always got in my tackle box. Could the trick worm ever be the most amazing, surprising bait for me again in any given year? And the answer is maybe. So, for example, when the Nico or the Neko rig came out, however you want to pronounce it, a few years ago, everybody was throwing a trick worm by putting a weight in the head of the worm and putting an O-ring on it. And suddenly it changed that whole technique. It was like, wow. And not only did it change it, it was super effective. It was excellent. So in that respect, the year that came out, that the Nico rig came out, I could probably have said the trick worm was my most surprising worm that year, or my most surprising bait, because I had a new technique with the trick worm. I had the Nico rig. So the other answer to that would have been, well, it probably wasn't the worm, it was the technique. You know, the Nico rig was the most amazing technique, you know. So anyway, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, maybe. So what is the bait? What is the bait of 2021 that just blew my mind, that I had never considered throwing, never even heard of it until 2021? It was this little guy right here. This is it, boys and girls. The Mike Buka baby bull gill, not the bull shad, the bull gill. This is 3.75 inches, so a little less than 4 inches long. It's a slow sinker. It weighs 3/4 of an ounce. Has number 6 hooks on it. The hooks are very good on it, by the way. This is a collaboration. Mike Buka and Catch Co. They put their heads together and they created what I believe may be one of the most amazing swim baits, glide baits out there for the money. This thing is only $15. And if you're a Carl's Club member, you can get this thing for like 12 bucks. When this first came out, even though I love a lot of Catch Co. products, and I'm a Carl's Club member, when this came out, I was pretty skeptical, because I've been familiar with the Mike Buka baits forever, the bull shad and all the others. I got one hanging right here. This is an amazing swim bait. It's not very pretty. It looks kind of crude when you look at the details on it. This is a new one that just came out of the package, and it's never been fished. And you can see there's nothing sexy about it, nothing fancy, nothing flashy. But boys and girls, this sucker catches fish, right? This is the real deal. And I thought to myself, really? Can Catch Co.? I mean, you know, they had to cheap out on this. One, it's only $15. It's made out of ABS plastic. It's you know, it's not handmade, it's mass produced. How good can this thing really be? That's kind of what was going through my mind. But I got one of these. I wasn't even going to buy one. I was like, nah, that's probably frog fur. That's probably a gimmick. I'm not going to buy one. But one showed up in my mystery tackle box. By the way, if you go over to Carl's or mysterytacklebox.com and use my code Mr. Bass, you can get a mystery tackle box for only $10, your first box. Sign up for a subscription. The subscription's great. I got tons of videos on the Mystery Tackle Box subscription. You can get your first box in your subscription for only $10. Go over there and check that out. Use the code Mr. Bass. I would greatly appreciate it. And when I saw it out of the package, this was it. This is the one that showed up in a Mystery Tackle Box. I was like, man, it really looks nice. It looks like a great bluegill. And the tail, in fact, the whole bait looks very similar to the real Big Mama that I know catches lots of fish. So I said, I'm going to go fish with this thing. I'm going to go try it. It blew me away. And maybe one of the reasons it blew me away is I took it to a new body of water that I'd never fished before. It was a small lake or a very large pond, however you want to look at it. The wind was blowing heavily that day. The water was what I would call stained, but not dirty. Um, there was a lot of grass in the pond, in the lake, and the bass population was healthy. There's a lot of bass in this pond. Now, uh, I took this thing out. I put this on a regular medium heavy rod with a fairly fast reel. It was probably around a 7-to-1 gear ratio reel. I was using 15-pound test fluorocarbon, and they recommend that you throw this on somewhere between 10 and 15-pound test line. You can throw it on a spinning rod. It's light enough, 3/4 of an ounce, that you can throw it really on any of your rods that you own. You don't need to go out and buy a big, heavy, expensive swim bait rod. You don't need a big, fancy swim bait reel. Just the regular equipment works just fine. The treble hooks are sticky sharp. They're high quality. They've got 6 different color patterns out there. This one is really chewed up. I don't know if you can tell from here, but this thing, the fish absolutely crushed this thing. My first day on the water, I caught over 50 fish on this thing. No joke. They crushed it. They loved this thing. And mostly what I was doing was burning it over grass, or letting it sink along the edge of the grass and then kind of slow swimming it. The good thing about the technique with the baby bull gill is if you're even a brand new angler, you can just throw it out there and reel it in and not even think about it. And it has a very nice wide, this is an S waver. It's a mini S waver. It's a glide bait. It just kind of very nice, steady, lifelike, realistic looking undulation through the water. And when you're slowly reeling it, it will definitely attract fish. But you can burn it along the top as well. And then you're going to get more of a reaction bite out of it. And it works excellent that way also. The one thing I would caution you, it's got exposed treble hooks. It does sink. It doesn't sink very fast. It sinks slow, but it still sinks fast enough that you're going to get it hung up if you're not paying attention to your retrieve. So I wouldn't throw this around a lot of exposed timber and brush and stuff like that. You're going to lose it. But around grass, it works great. Around rock, it works fine. In open water, it works excellent. This baby bullgill is crazy. If you're going to any body of water where that the primary forage for the bass is panfish, whether it be bluegill, crappie, even baby bass, take this thing out, throw it. You are not going to regret it. It's going to catch you fish. Okay, this color here is called natural gill, and like I said, it crushed them. It's a great color. There's another bluegill color here called ruby gill, and it's got red in it. You can see kind of on the belly, and so especially early springtime, I'm probably going to be throwing this one more than the other gill color. Just that little bit of red, I think, is going to drive them crazy. The bedding bass. And then here is a baby bass, and this is, I think, a very good bass pattern, a baby bass pattern. I mean, that's great color. Here's one called Violet Brim. So, this is kind of the time of year when your bluegill are starting to lighten up, and they're not as green as they normally are. Also a great color. They also have a bone color. They have a crappie color. I have a crappie around here somewhere. I can't find where it's at for some reason. And that's the 6 colors. Now, the exciting news is that I've heard through the grapevine that Catchco is working with Mike Bucca, and they're coming out with a handful of new colors, more of some shad type colors and that sort of thing. I'm not sure what all the colors are, but I'm really excited to see what's coming and to get my hands on it. Think about it. You can catch all kinds of fish on swim baits and glide baits. It's a fun technique, but man, it can get really expensive. And when you can buy a miniature version of that that doesn't take any special equipment and cost $15, $14.99. I looked on the Carl's website. If you're a Carl's Club member, $10.49. It's insane. It's crazy how awesome this bait is. And I am not, this is not BS. I mean, this is my shocker bait of 2021. It seems like no matter where I throw it, I've been able to catch fish on that thing. Obviously, there's going to be a time or two when the conditions don't work and aren't right, and it's not going to work. But I'm telling you, it is an incredible bait. It's a sight bait. You know, the more visibility you've got, the more fish you're likely going to catch because they want to see that S waving action in the water. But even in thick grass, like I was doing, burning over the top, you're going to get bit on this thing. And I am really, really excited about the baby bullgill. Now, I have bought the baby bull shad as well. I've not tried it yet. That's why I can't honestly say. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be just as awesome as this. Maybe some of you have thrown it as well, and you can put in the comments what your thoughts are about this. But I'm telling you guys, you don't need a special tackle box. You don't need any special lure wraps. This thing will fit in any of your normal Plano boxes. You can take this thing anywhere, and it's going to catch you fish. Another reason I think this is such an amazing bait is I think a lot of people just won't throw it. Kind of like the way I was thinking. I'm not going to get that. I'm not going to try that. That's probably, you know, they're just putting Buka's name on it, but it's really not going to be as effective as his regular. Listen, I'm telling you, this bait is just as good as the other Mike Buka big money baits. It really is. I had a blast in 2021 throwing this thing, and I can't wait to throw it in 2022. Literally, as soon as the water starts to thaw, I assure you I'm going to have this thing tied on. Go check this thing out. Go buy one of these. You're not going to regret it. And I think the best deal you can get right now is at Carl's Club, Carl's Bait and Tackle. No matter how you slice it, this was an super exciting bait. You figure I caught 803 fish this year. And I don't know how many I caught on the baby bull gill, but it was probably a few hundred on that this year. That's how good that bait is. So I hope this was helpful and informative. And if you've never tried one of these, hey, something exciting for you to go out and try. I'm really eager for you to try it. And I'd love to hear, after you go try it, come back to the video and comment and let me know. Or hop on one of my live streams and let me know how you like that bait. It's an amazing bait. I know you won't regret it. If this was helpful, please hit that like button. Hit the notification bell to find out when I'm doing the next video and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, this is Mr. Bass. Happy fishing!